Hi, and welcome to Coffee with My Sunshine. Thanks so much for coming by. I hope you enjoy today's DIY home decor projects. And if you do, I would love for you to subscribe and join my YouTube family. So today we are starting off in my backyard. Don't mind the crushed up concrete right here. We're going to be making that into like a path, but for today I am taking this handsaw and cutting up this olive tree branch. I saw this really cute hanging, I don't know what you call it, like these mason jars that were hanging from a branch, and I thought this olive branch would be perfect because it was actually a sore spot for me because I loved our olive tree in our yard, but my husband had to cut it down because part of it was dying, so I wanted to use some of it in my house. So for this project, you're just going to need a branch, some rope, these little twist-in hooks, and some twine. All you're going to need to do is just drill 2 holes where you want the rope to hang from, and that's going to be on either side of the branch. And then for mine, I just taped off the end of the rope because I just couldn't get it to feed through the hole. It was fraying too much. And then you're going to want to knot it at the end to hold it in place. And if you want, you can add a little bit of glue just for more security. And then you kind of want to hold it up and measure it out to see how high you want the hanger to go. And this is my dog Bella. She's been really clingy today. So, and she likes to be around me when I'm doing projects, it seems like. She will show her face again here shortly. So then you're going to do the same with the other side. And I brought it inside because it was just getting way too hot out. So then you're going to take the 2 hooks, and this is where you're going to be hanging the mason jars. And just kind of place them where you think you want them to hang. And here she is again. So I just wanted to show you. She's just laying next to us while we're working on the project, so I had to be kind of at a weird angle. So I just screwed the 2 hooks in. On the right side it was a little bit crooked, but it still ended up hanging okay. And I'm just using some old ball mason jars that I had on hand from other projects. You could use clear ones or any jars that you had, like condiment jars, that would be really pretty, and just leave them clear. I'm just using what I had, so that's why this one's painted. So you're going to want to take the twine and tie it around the neck of the jar, and then add twine on either side of the jar. Just loop it through where you just tied around the jar. And this is where you're going to hang it from the hooks. After you have the 2 in place, just move the knot that you had in the front to the back and give it a quick double knot so that you know that it's going to be secure. And super simple, it's all done. You just hang it from whatever, something a little bit sturdier than like a tack. I have a screw in mine. And then you just hang the mason jars, and I put lavender in mine because I love lavender. It's my favorite. You could do like a coastal theme. This would look great in our sunroom. We have a coastal theme going on. You could put lilies in there, anything that you wanted. Whatever goes with your home decor. I'm super happy with it, and it was just so simple to do, and I just used items that I had on hand. And so it was basically free because I already had everything. And I wanted to show you real quick what it would look like with the coastal or nautical theme. This is a little jar that I had done a couple of videos back. I'll put that up in my cards if you want to see how I made that. But it's just made from one of those glass yogurt jars. So kind of like a trash to treasure thing. For this next one, I'm just taking some aluminum foil and the backing of a Dollar Tree frame. And you want it to have the corrugated look to it. And you're just going to run a fork along the corrugated sections of the cardboard, because you want to make them deeper than they are. And then you're going to take the aluminum foil and just crumple it up. Don't crumple it in a ball. Just crumple it up enough to get some texture. And we're kind of making like a, this is going to be a tin roof to a little house. So it's like a corrugated look. Or not corrugated, what's it called? Like a galvanized tin roof. So I'm just taking some of this Elmer's glue. You can use whatever you have. And you want to make sure it's even. You don't want any like bubbles or anything, because you will see it. And then lay the foil on top and press it down really tight. You can use a pencil or a paintbrush, whatever, to really get it in there. And then I just took the end of the paintbrush and then pushed the aluminum foil into the little corrugated pieces or the little indentions. And then just cutting the excess foil off. And this is what it looks like. I think it's kind of cool, but I still wanted it to have a little bit more depth to it, so I'm adding some black acrylic paint. And I saw this technique on YouTube. I will link the channel if I can find it again. And I added a little bit of water to the black acrylic paint. And then while the paint's still wet, you want to blot it with a paper towel until you're happy with the coverage. And this house is one that I had. I got it from a thrift store a while back. And I loved the blue color, but I just wasn't too thrilled with the flowers that were on there. So I'm just using some of this white Waverly chalk paint, which I am almost out of. And I'm so sad, but it'll force me to use other colors, which I want to do anyway. So I'm just cutting down the foil or the tin roof to fit the house and attaching it with hot glue. Same here, doing it on the other side, cutting around the little chimney. And then just roughing it up a little bit to give it some texture. And then I thought it needed something else because it looked kind of plain, so I'm just taking a cardboard box. This is part of my trash to treasure love, which I will link my last trash to treasure up above if you guys are interested. So I just cut down the box and glued it together to kind of make like a little window box, mini window box. And I just painted it white and then went over it with 2 different color brown markers and smeared it until I was happy with the faux wood look. And I'm just attaching that with hot glue as well. and then filling it with little lavender and greenery picks. And I'm actually super happy with how it turned out. I think it's really cute and will look cute on a shelf. Friends, and welcome back to Coffee with My Sunshine. Today's video is going to be my April Using Trash to Create Treasure Challenge. I will have the playlist listed in the description box if you guys are interested in checking out what everybody else made. But for my video, I'm showing you how I took some scrap pieces of fabric and turned them into a bowl, and also took some costume jewelry that my daughter was getting rid of and remade them into beautiful bracelets. So first I'm going to be starting with this fabric. And a lot of it are just like weird size pieces, like obviously pieces that I couldn't reuse for something else. So I'm just cutting them into strips, and they're about 1 inch, some of them smaller, some of them bigger. And it doesn't really matter the length because you're gonna want these different lengths for this project anyway. You want colors and patterns that really like stand out. That way you can see the twists as you're going along, because we are making some fabric twine. And as you can see, some of this fabric, it's all from my grandma. She had a bunch of fabric, and they were projects that she had started or just pieces that she just wasn't going to use anymore. And this green and white one I just think is beautiful, so I kept a good chunk of it because I want to make like a sundress or something. Obviously I can't make it out of this, but I would like to take it to like Joann Fabrics and kind of try and find one that matched it. So after you're done cutting your strips, you want to tie 2 pieces together, and you want one longer than the other, just like this. And you're going to hold on to the knot, and you're going to have 1 piece of fabric on the bottom and 1 on the top. You're going to twist the top, and I had a little bit of trouble here to get started, but you just want to twist it really tight, and then take the one that you twisted and fold it over the fabric that you haven't twisted yet, and you want to pull it towards you. So then you roll away from you, you roll the fabric away from you, and then you pull it towards you over the other piece of fabric, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And this does take a while, but it's something you can do like in front of the TV or whatever. It just kind of gets mindless after a while. You don't have to concentrate on it. And you will have probably cramps in your fingers, because I know I did. I had to stop every once in a while. But the tighter you do it, the better it stays. And then once you run out of fabric on the short piece, you're going to want to take another strip of fabric and lay it on top of the piece that's running out, and kind of fold the piece that's running out over it, so it kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of like folds into it and covers it. So then you're going to want to twist it and just keep doing the same thing you did with the other pieces, just twisting away from you and then pulling the piece over the other piece of fabric, and it locks in pretty tight. And you can't, in some of the spots you can tell where you've added the new pieces of fabric, but not really. And I think it looks kind of cool anyway. And then when you're all finished, you just tie a knot at the end and then cut it. And I'm going to be storing mine, because I'm going to be making more of these because I have so many scrap pieces of fabric. I'm going to be storing mine on a paper towel roll. So there's another piece of trash that we can use for something. And then all I did was just take a piece of tape just to hold both ends. And then for mine, you can go ahead and, you know, like wrap it around a planter. You can, there's so many things you can do with this fabric twine rope stuff. But I'm going to take this wooden bowl, which I still like. I didn't want to ruin it, so that's why I covered it in wax paper. And then I just started a circle on the bottom with the rope, and then just kept using hot glue and going around the bowl. And I didn't make as much twine as I thought I did, so it didn't cover the bowl completely, but that's okay, because I just wanted a small bowl anyway to hold like jewelry and stuff. And then I just took the wax paper off and then pulled it off of the twine rope, and some of it stuck, obviously because of the hot glue. You want to be a little bit more careful than I was and make sure you're getting the hot glue more on the rope than you are the wax paper. But if yours gets stuck like mine did, all you have to do is take a hair dryer on warm and it will release the glue from the wax paper. And I think it turned out super cute. I'm loving it. It's got kind of like a boho style to it. And if you don't want those little strings hanging out, don't rip the fabric. You know, scissors obviously leaves a cleaner cut, and then you don't have all those little pieces of string. On to the next project. I am using this like costume jewelry that my daughter had. She used to like play dress up and stuff when she was little, so she had all this jewelry and she was finally getting rid of it because she's older now. So I of course held on to it because I knew I could do so many things with it. And then here I'm just taking some twine, and this is where you would want to add a button, but I did not have a button, so I just used this this little love heart that was on one of the necklaces that she was getting rid of. And then you just thread it through, and you want the ends of the twine to be even at the bottom, and you want it kind of a long piece because you can cut it if it's too long. You just can't add on to it if it's too short, if you know what I mean. So then you just knot it, and you want to leave a little space below, like if you use a button, but a little space below whatever you're using there, because that's going to be where you feed the end of the bracelet through to hold it onto your wrist. And then just tape it down. And I'm using actually this old bracelet. I loved the beads on it, but obviously it was all stretched out in spots, so I just cut it apart. And you're going to take a needle and thread, and you're going to push the needle through the knot. You want it to go through the twine, and if you had like the jewelry cord, that would probably work better, but I did not. And then you're going to push the knot from the end of the thread into the knot, and you probably should trim those ends because I ended up getting it caught while I was trying to put the beads on. So then you're going to feed the thread through the left side of the twine and then thread on a bead. Then you're going to take your needle and wrap under and around the right side. You'll see as I get going. This is my first time doing it, so I was a little bit hesitant. So after you wrapped it under the right side of the twine, you want to feed the thread back through the bead. Keep watching, don't give up on me. I know it looks like a mess, but it's not, it gets better. So after you fed it through the bead, you're going to feed the thread under the left side of the twine and up and around, and then thread on another bead, and then you're just going to keep repeating this process. Going to go under the right side and then back through the bead, and then over and under the left side and feed on a bead. You get it. This is where I got the thread caught in there. That's why you want to trim those ends. And you want this to be kind of long because it's going to be a wrap bracelet. So what I found after doing this for a while, I ended up taping the two pieces at the bottom, the two pieces of the twine. It just held it so that it wasn't moving all over the place, because that's where I was struggling, and it made it just so much easier that way. Okay, and if you're like me, you didn't give yourself enough thread. So if you start running out of thread, but you still want to continue on with the bracelet, all you have to do is thread the last bead on like you normally would. Put the thread under the left side, and then once you've kind of wrapped thread around the twine, you're going to want to poke the needle under that thread and make a knot, if that makes sense. Back through the bead. Then under the right side like you normally would, but then you're going to do the same thing where you put the needle through where it wrapped around the twine and kind of knot it. Pull it through the bead again. I don't know if you can tell what I'm doing, but it's hard to explain, so that's why I wanted to be quiet. So then you pull it through the bead, and then trim that piece, and then start a new piece of thread, and you're going to start it the same way you did at the top. But you're going to start on the right side, and you're going to poke the thread after you've knotted it at the end. Poke the thread through the right side of the twine. Thread it through that last bead. And you're going to want to trim those pieces just like I said at the top, but I did not, so it pulled it in. So then you're going to start like you had been, but first you're going to pull that thread through the left side of the twine. This is just to kind of secure it. And then just start threading on the beads like you did. And then once you've reached the end of your bracelet, you're going to do kind of what you did a little bit ago when you ran out of thread. You poke it through the left side of the twine, add on a bead, then you're going to wrap it around and knot it again on the right side, and then you're going to thread it through the right side of the twine and then back through the bead. So after you're sure that you like the length of it, you can test it out, which is what I did here, just to make sure. I think next time I make one, I'm going to make it wrap around 3 times. So you're going to want to make sure that the end of the twine reaches the top part of the twine, because you're going to knot it right at the end, and then you're going to put 2 little tassel-y things at the end. See, and this is how you attach it once it's on your wrist. And then take the 2 little ends and thread on as many beads as you want. I put a little bit of tape at the end so that it was just easier to thread, because these beads are tiny. And I just did a couple and let them hang a little bit, and then tied off the ends and did the same thing on the other side. And I'm super happy with how it turned out. I really like it. I think both of these things are very boho, and both of them used trash that would have normally been thrown away. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit different than what I normally do. Let me know if you do like it, and I can continue on with little projects like this. I think they're fun, and I think it's fun to just change things up. And also, I've had a lot of requests for boho style. So don't forget to check out the Using Trash to Create Treasure Challenge playlist that I have listed in my description box. Everybody comes up with so many good ideas all the time. It'll give you tons of inspiration if you have trash or recyclables that you're wanting to reuse, because the goal of this challenge is to keep more items out of the landfill and turn them into something useful and give them a second life. So for my projects today, I am starting with this chair that we've had for years. It was my husband's, but it doesn't lock anymore, and we wanted to get rid of it because my son was actually sitting in it not too long ago and flipped over backwards, so it's just not safe to use anymore. So I decided I could probably use the canvas from the backing of the chair, because you know, it's meant for being outside and getting dirty. It's really faded, as you can tell. So I just went ahead and took the chair apart, and then I just cut off the top. I'm not going to be using the whole thing. I mean, I might find uses for it other than what I'm making today, but it's a pretty big piece of fabric. So I thought what I could do with it is make a cute little like beach bag or something. So I'm just kind of playing around with how it sits and how the grommet holes line up. And I wanted to use this rope. I thought it would be more beachy than like twine or something. And I am just taking the rope and I'm going to weave it through those little grommets. And I needed tape because that rope gets kind of fluffy at the end. And I just weaved it through and then put a few knots at the top and a knot at the bottom on the inside. And if you wanted, you could go ahead and you know, run a stitch along the edges if you're going to be putting small things in the bag. But I thought it would be perfect for beach towels and sunscreen. And then I went ahead and did the same thing on the other side. And I wasn't sure what to do with the top piece of fabric, so I just went ahead and cut it, and then after I cut it, I realized it made a second pocket, which bonus. And then I have this old belt that was my daughter's. She was getting rid of it, and I thought it would make a perfect handle. It just looks beachy to me, and I love the color combination. So I'm just cutting part of the belt and then sticking it into the bag, and then I had to untie it, but weaving that rope through the belt as well. And again, you can run a little stitch across just to make it more secure. And I think it's so cute. I just love that this was made out of a chair. Let me know what you guys think of this one. So on to my next project. I'm going to be using these. I think they originally probably had those glass pillars with them. I got them at Goodwill. I got a set of 2, but they didn't have the pillars with them. So I'm just using this glass bottle that we were going to throw in the recycle bin. It's actually one that my husband finished up, and don't worry, it took him a very, very, very long time to finish this big bottle. But I wanted to add a little bit of water and add some stones because I thought that would look really, really pretty. And I am adding some plant clippings to this because I want to regrow the plant. I just snipped off some of this. I think it's an ivy plant that I had. This is something my mom used to do, and she still does it. She just takes clippings and they just like regrow, and you just plant them and they grow as normal. Also, April from April Adair Shares has been doing this, and she has a couple great videos on how to do it. I will list her channel in my description box as well. So this one is super simple, but I thought it was really pretty, and this way we can see the little roots as they start growing. But I thought it was a perfect way to reuse a bottle that we would have thrown away anyway. For this next one, I am using a pea can and cat food can and a little dowel rod or skewer stick. And I saw my inspiration. I'll show you coming up here shortly. I'll show you the picture where I got the idea to do this, but I'm taking some acrylic paint and painting the outsides of the cans. And then I'm just taking a fine paintbrush and painting the edges with some metallic gold paint. Looking at this, I wish I would have went with like a rose gold. I think that would be really pretty. But I took the skewer sticks and cut them. I cut one side flat and then one side at an angle, and you'll see what I'm doing with that here in a minute. And I sanded it down just so that they're flat, and I'm using 6 per can. So these are gonna be legs to these cans, and you'll see what I mean. They turn out really cute. And I'm just using some hot glue, and it holds really well. You could use any kind of glue that you want if you want it to be more permanent. So then I just glue them at an angle so that they rest on each other, and once the glue dries, it dries really hard and they don't separate. And I did the same with the other can. This is the inspiration for these cans. I thought they were so cute. They look like little, are they silos? Not silos. I can't remember, but you know what I mean. But I think they turned out really cute. And then I went ahead and painted the legs gold to match the rim. And you can use these for any kind of organization or holder. For this next one, I'm taking this tea can that holds tea bags, and then I wanted like a little handle on top of the lid. So I'm taking some old nail polishes that were kind of dried up, or I didn't like the color anymore, and I thought these would be perfect little handles, kind of like you would buy at a store. So I thought this one was cool because it had the most, I don't know, like a really cool shape to it. And I just took a napkin and pulled out the brush. And then I stripped down the tea can and painted that, and painted the lid, and also painted the handle. I ended up painting the handle the same color as the lid, and then in the end just went ahead and painted it black. I should have done that from the beginning. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's okay. So then I went over the lid with a little bit darker brown, and the brush was a little bit drier just to give it more of a wood look, like getting those lines and grooves in there. And then just take a little bit of whatever glue you're using. I'm just using Gorilla Glue because I want it to hold. So then on the body of the can, I am just going to write tea. If I had cuter stencil letters, I would have used those, but I couldn't find them, so I just went ahead and did it by hand. And I think this is super cute, and it'll fit perfect on our coffee bar. And I love being able to use the nail polish lids because some of them are really cute, and I don't know, instead of throwing the whole thing away, why not reuse it? I am starting with this scrap piece of barnwood, this kitty litter container with a Home Depot lid, and I'm having my husband and my son help me. My son is using the saw right now. And the only reason we're using the saw is because we got it out to cut a circle. So I know this isn't typically the saw you would use for straight lines, but you know, it works. So I want these boards cut in half because I want kind of like a seat for the top of the kitty litter container, and just the width of the one board wasn't enough. So that's why we're using two, and we're just going to cut each part of the circle out from both boards. And my son started doing this and he wasn't comfortable doing the curved lines, so my husband took over. And I am not good with the saw at all. I just cannot steer it. So that's going to be the circle for the top of the kitty litter container. My son is cutting these strips for me, and my husband is also cutting a little bit thicker strips from the scrap pieces of wood that I had. After those strips of wood were cut, I am going to assemble them because these are going to be a tray, and I wanted two different tones or textures on this tray, so I'm going to be alternating pieces. And this one's really simple. All you have to do after you get it laid out how you want, you just take some wood glue and slap a good amount on, and then use a clamp to tighten it down. I let mine sit overnight and it was hard as a rock when I got up. For the kitty litter topper, I am taking those wood pieces and gluing them together in the center. And I didn't have a clamp, so a clamp big enough, so I kind of made my own out of a couple bricks and a what are they called? Bungee cord. And it seemed to work out really well because it was super strong when I woke up, so. And this is the kitty litter container I'm going to use. I'm just taking it and cleaning it up a little bit and spray painting it black. For the lid, I didn't think I needed to spray paint the top because you're not going to see it. I just wanted the very edges of it because you will see that. As that was drying, I sanded the top of the litter container and the tray. And as of right now, these two stains are my favorite. It's pickled oak and early American. I love layering stains because I can never find one that is perfect. So I start with the pickled oak. And then I don't even wait for it to dry. I layer over the Early American. And I think they turned out so pretty. I just love this color. It's like an actual wood color. It's not too gray, it's not too brown or orange. So then after that dried, I just flipped it over and put the litter container or litter lid underneath and screwed it in and screwed it onto the wood. And I thought this would be perfect for like when I'm pulling weeds or something, because sometimes I want something to sit on because it just hurts my knees to be kneeling so long. And also I can keep my tools in there, like you know, like the little, what are they called? The little snips and the little shovels and gloves. And it's perfect to just carry around while you're working in your garden or your flower beds. Then for the tray, I looked all over because I had just gotten some like antique candles. I got them from a garage sale and I could not find them anywhere. So my husband gave me the idea, since we were getting rid of some old kitchen cupboards, he said to just take the handles or the knobs off of the cupboards, and it worked out perfect. He just drilled a couple holes on the sides, and we had to kind of make an indentation, I don't know what it's called, so that the screw from the knob actually went far enough in to attach the knob on the top, if that makes sense. And I actually think it looks really cool with the knobs, and it works perfect as handles. I think it's so pretty. Let me know what you guys think of the two different textures on the tray and the handles. Then next for the bucket, I am taking some of this metallic paint in copper and bronze and painting the handle. And I think it looks so cute. It's going to be great for working outside, or really anything. You can, I don't know, you can store anything in there. We have another one that I made probably a year ago now that we keep like bird seed in it and stuff. Next, I am using this Brewmate container. I think that's what it's called. It keeps like your drinks cold. Which, if you drink anything in cans, these are awesome. They work great and they're super cute. But I thought the shape of the container was really cute, and I wanted to keep the top of it because I liked the pattern on here. So I'm just cutting the bottom out, and we're going to actually make the top the bottom, if that makes sense. And I'm taking some of this paint. It's called Sea Salt. It's the paint that we have actually in our sunroom. I think it's so pretty. And I'm just giving it 2 coats and putting the top or bottom back on. And this can be used to like put vases in, or faux flowers. think it's super pretty, especially on the tray. And then I'm doing the same thing with a smaller one, and I'm painting it yellow. And I think they're just so cute. This kind of gives you like a mid-century modern look to it. And I also used a, I think it's a ginger beer bottle for that other flower. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this and got some ideas on how to keep trash out of the landfill and just some decor ideas. And if you're new to my channel, I would love for you to join my YouTube family. Thanks so much for all your love and support, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye! For this next one, I am using some scrap pieces of wood and some painter sticks. And I'm cutting it down to the size that I want, and it all depends on what size you want your crate to be. And because I didn't want to use a saw on the painter sticks, because I've done that before and it's kind of a disaster, I just scored the painter stick where I wanted the break to be. And then once you score it on both sides, it's pretty easy to just snap. And then I sanded all the edges. And originally I wanted these to be raw wood, but because they said lumber on the back, I'm going to paint them white and then just leave the corner posts. I'm going to leave those natural wood. And then just to build the crate, I'm using some wood glue because I think that holds the best, along with a little bit of hot glue just to hold it in place while the wood glue dries. You know the routine. And then I'm just going to assemble the crate using the corner posts in the corner and the long side pieces. I'm doing 3 on each side, and then for the end pieces they're a little bit shorter, and I'm using 3 on each end as well. And I started at the bottom, and then my next step is going to be doing the top stir sticks. That way I can place the middle one pretty much center. And then for the bottom, I wasn't worried about it being too hefty because it's just going to be sitting on a desk or a counter, so it's not like I'm going to be carrying it around. So I just used actually the back of a picture frame because that's kind of like a thicker cardboard anyway. And I just glued that the same as I glued the edges with some wood glue and hot glue. And I just glued it to the bottom. And I think it turned out so pretty. I love the white with the natural wood. And I think it will look really pretty on my desk as well. Let me know what you think of this one. Today I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a mix of farmhouse, a little bit of coastal, maybe a little bit of vintage. For my first project, I'm starting with this peg spindly thing that came off of a side table that I got from Craigslist. This was the only thing I could keep, so I cut it in half. I thought it would make a really cute candle holder, and I got the inspiration for this from Jessica from Measure and Mix from our last collab, the Using Trash to Create Treasure Challenge. After I cut it down, I took these scrap pieces of wood. They were just like little square pieces, and I thought they would make perfect, like a perfect base and a perfect topper for my candle holder. So I'm just taking them and sanding them down. I wanted more of the rounder edges like that. Not round, just not super pointy, I guess. So I'm using some wood glue to hold them together, and the top part of my bottle for the wood glue never seems to stay unclogged, so I always just have to unscrew the lid and then use my finger. I know there's ways, like I've seen people stick things down into the nozzle after you use it, but I don't know. I never think of that when I'm done. I'm just putting stuff away and getting it out of the way. So yeah. So anyway, I'm just sticking the two bottom pieces together, and I glued on the top, or maybe I didn't glue it on yet, I'm not sure. But I'm painting them white because because obviously they're two different tones of like a wood color, and I wanted them to match. And I'd already used like a paint stripper on the spindle thing, and it did not work at all, so painting is my last resort. And you'll see that's kind of a pattern through this video. So anyway, I glued on the top and painted that one white as well, and then after the base was dry, I took some more wood glue, and glued the rest of the candle onto the base. And I think it looks really cute. You just gotta wait for it to dry. And then I went ahead and sanded some of it because it already looked a little bit rustic from the spindle thing. It just was super chippy and stuff, so I just decided to do the same thing to the base. And that's it. It's super cute, super farmhouse. I like it. But with these, I would recommend using a what are they called? Not like a flameless candle, because they can be tippy and it just makes me nervous. So I like to use the flameless candle, and I think it's super pretty. And don't peek at the table underneath it, because that's one of the next projects. For my next trash to treasure, I am taking this old clock that we weren't going to do anything with. It was just not our style. And I'm just going to take it apart and spray paint it with some flat black spray paint. And then after it dried, I'm just adding this fabric to the inside of the clock. It's actually going to be like a tray. I thought it would be super cute. It's small and perfect for, you know, like little teacups or whatever. But I'm adding this fabric with just a little bit of Mod Podge. I didn't want to do a lot because I think it would be cool to change this out depending on the season or time of year. And then I'm just going to reassemble the clock. And it actually didn't need handles, which is cool because it you can grip underneath pretty good. And I actually forgot to paint the bottom, so I'll have to take it back out and spray paint it. And I think it turned out really cute. For this next one, I am using this really chunky fat pickle bottle or pickle jar. I kept it just because it looked a little bit different than jars that I had, and I thought it would be cool to put outside on our patio and put a like citronella candle in there. So first I'm going to add these silver rocks. I think they're really pretty. I've had them, and I think I got them years ago at like Hobby Lobby or something, but you could get something similar at the dollar store in white. And then I'm going to, until I get a citronella candle, I'm going to add this little candle from Antique Candle Company. If you like these candles, I will have my link listed in the description box if you guys are interested, so you can order your summer candles. And I actually think it's really cute. You could also use it to put cookies in to take to somebody's house, of course, after you get the pickle smell out. And this next one, it's not decor, but I thought it was too pretty to throw away. And then after thinking about it, I thought it would be perfect to put some like Advil or Tums or whatever you take with you in your purse. It's a perfect size, it locks really nice, and it's kind of pretty. So for my next project, I am using just a log that we've had for quite a while. Actually, I think it was my in-laws, but we have tons of logs from cutting down trees, so I thought I would put one to use, and I loved the color of part of it, so I wanted to kind of match the rest of it to it, so I thought I would take some outdoor paint and do like a whitewash. I combined white and gray to give it like a driftwood look. And then I took a white rag or a wet rag and just wiped over it to make it so it wasn't so solid of a color. And there's my puppy. But I just liked how this one turned out. It was super simple, and I think it is perfect for next to a chair. I can have my mint on there, or if somebody's sitting there, they can set a drink on it. I think my husband's going to level it off so that it sits better. But I thought that was perfect. For my last project, I am doing kind of a spin-off on the mason jar fishnet thing that I did, I think it was last year, but I'm using this yogurt container, and these are so cute. You can use them for so many things, but you're going to take 10 pieces of twine, and I believe I did 24 inches. And then you're going to take another piece of twine, wrap it around the top part of the yogurt container, and leave about 2 inches, you know, longer on each side, because that's where you're going to tie it. So then you're going to start by taking one of the strands, fold it in half, and loop it through and make a knot so that it knots onto the piece of twine that you're going to be wrapping around the yogurt container. And then you just continue on, and I ended up only using 8 pieces of the twine because I thought it fit perfectly. I didn't want them jam-packed on there so that, you know, it just looked messy. So then after you have all the twine on there, you're going to tie that top piece around the yogurt container and cut off any extra pieces. So you want to start by taking 2 pieces of twine, and you don't want to use the 2 that are tied together. You want to use one from one section and one from the other. And then just tie them so that it looks like a little triangle. It's just a simple knot, and you want to make sure they're all kind of tied at the same level. And then you're just going to go around until you've tied all of the twine, and then you're going to move on to the next level and do the same thing. And then once you get down to the bottom, this is different than the mason jar that I had showed you. We're just going to leave those extra long pieces, just kind of to make it look like a macrame, I guess, style. And you're going to take a piece of twine and tie it around so that it kind of just looks like a little bushel of twine, I guess. And then you're going to take 4 more pieces, or you could use 2. I just wanted it to hang kind of like more even. I tried it with 2 and it didn't work as well. And then you're just going to loop those pieces of twine because this is where you're going to hang it from. And I took some Dollar Tree sand, some of the white sand, and I'm going to kind of dye it like an ocean color. So I'm using blue and green and mixing it until I'm happy with the color. And you can stick a candle in there. I think it's so pretty, it's so beachy and coastal. Or you could go ahead and stick with the white sand and then put a succulent in there, which I think is just as pretty. I love it. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed these Trash to Treasures. Thanks so much, guys, for all your love and support, and I'll see you next time. Bye!